Calling all festival warriors, it's time to unleash your inner adventurer and take on the camping grounds of Download Festival. We've got the essential camping list here to help make it so that your camping experience turns you into a superstar, or at least prevent you getting tangled in tent ropes. Hi everyone, I'm James and welcome to Katie Tries. In this video we're going to go over the essentials you need to camp at Download Festival and any other festival really, but specifically Download. I've been going to Download since 2009. I've missed some, but not many. So I've been going for a long. I don't even remember the ones that I haven't been to, obviously. But I've done a lot. I've been to a few festivals. I feel like I know what I'm talking about. The camping at Download Festival is always a main thing. Once you've been once, it doesn't even matter what the lineup is, because the experience in the campsite and around that area when the music's not on just makes the whole experience. It's just such a good atmosphere, such a good vibe. You'll have a great time. You always will, as long as you're prepared. If you're not prepared, it can be hard work and it can be challenging, and it's about finding the right balance between niceties and comforts and what you actually need to make sure it's as enjoyable as it can be while being rested, so you enjoy the rest of the festival as well. A friend of mine, he didn't take wellies one year. It absolutely rained. He ended up having trench foot and he ended up missing 2 days of the festival because he had to go home and he needed to go see a doctor. And if he'd just took some wellies that fit him, that he tried out beforehand, he'd have been fine. And that's the point of this list. Not to make sure you don't get trench foot, but to make sure you are ready to enjoy and you know what you're getting yourself in for. So you're going to need somewhere to sleep. What you're going to want is a tent. If you're on your own, a 2-man tent will do. A good rule of thumb is to take whatever the man tent is and divide it by 2, and that's how many people should be able to sleep in there with their bits. Unless you've got a tent with like a porch or an area in the middle, then you can sort of take that on board. But you want to be mindful that you're not looking for a 1-man tent and expecting to fit yourself in there and your things, because you just won't do it. The weather at Download is always boiling hot or raining or both, usually both. It's normally quite muddy or really dry. It's very up in the air. It's usually quite extreme and changes, as is very British weather. So with that being said, you want to try and avoid, if you can, if your budget allows, a single skin tent, because if it rains, your tent will get wet, or your bits inside the tent will get wet. And also if it's hot, a single skin tent will not be as breathable as a 2-skin tent. You want to take a 2-skin tent, really. That's a minimum in terms of tents. Make sure you've got enough room. If you're not very tent savvy, you can get some pop-up 2-skin tents. They are a bit more expensive, but they're easy to throw up and a little bit harder to throw down, but they can be done. You've got to sort of think of them like a circle, make an 8 and fold them on each other. Just some quick advice there. If you go for those ones, it's definitely worth having a practice. I've just gone for a normal standard dome tent, 2-skinned, 2-man tent. It was 30 quid from Decathlon, which is quite a reasonable price, especially with prices going up. You know, if the weather was reliably sunny, you know, you could go for a single man tent and you could chance that. But the weather is so up in the air. Even now, less than 10 days before the festival, the weather is glorious sunshine up until the day that the festival starts, and then it's literally sunshine, highs of 26, and rain. You'll be put through the elements, that's for sure. You'll also want to take some sort of bed, some sort of lining. Those things that look like yoga mats, I've not been a fan of them. I've never found them enjoyable. They've never seemed to help. You want to make sure you find a way to raise yourself off the ground, be that like an air mattress or like those camping beds with frames that prop you up. That's what I'm taking this year, just because I have some and I don't want to go and buy unnecessary things. I have them from camping outside. They're quite cheap on their own anyway, about £15, and they're not that much. You don't have to pump them up, obviously. You just have to put the wide frames into them, and then they hold themselves up. They're canvas as well, and they will keep you about this far off the floor, which has stop you from getting cold, because no matter how hot or how wet it gets during the day, the night time it will be freezing. It gets very, very cold. So with that in mind, you might want to also take a sleeping bag. A lot of people some people take like duvets, some people take pillows. I'm not going to take a pillow because I'm just going to take my sleeping bag. I don't tend to sleep on more than one pillow anyway, and so I lie with my neck quite flat. That's just my personal preference, so I'm okay with not having a pillow. If it comes to it, I'll just roll a hoodie up and use that as a pillow, just use my arm. There's a way around it, but if you're someone who needs 2 or 3 pillows, you might want to think about that. Just think about how you sleep at home. Some things you want to think about as well is in the campsite, you'll spend a lot of time there. You might think, oh, I'm going to go and make the most of the festival. If it's your first time and you think, I'll never be at my camp, why would I be there? There's so much going on. And there is so much going on. You would be well within your rights to stay away from your camp the whole time you're there. But it gets expensive because then you have to buy things that aren't around your tent. But also, you'll be knackered. It's tiring stuff. There's a lot of walking around, and the importance of having somewhere to go and be comfortable and relax and rest, it can't be understated. So a bare minimum that you will need is a camping chair. You can get some cheap pull-out ones. They're usually like £2 for £15 from like Tesco or Decathlon or Go Outdoors, something like that. But you are getting what you pay for. So they are prone to breaking. I'm taking one that I've had for years now, and by some miracle it's still alive, still together, still with it. The main things that kill them is if you use your arms to press up on them or press down, or when you sit down on them. That just destroys them. Once the arm's gone, the integrity of the whole thing is ruined and they don't last very long. You can get some slightly more expensive ones which are a bit more comfortable and also a bit more hard wearing if you want to go back and forth, or you can get some very small little stools. But I'd almost advise, don't go for a little stool. It's not really going to do the job for you. You want somewhere where you've got a bit of back support, somewhere where you can actually sit and just take it in, have a minute and relax. Usually there's always somebody around who doesn't have a chair, and they're desperate for it. You can see the people that don't have a chair because they're constantly tired. If there's a bunch of you going as well, you might want to look and see about making the most of buying 2 for cheaper sort of deal. Some other things which can make things a bit more comfortable is having a portable table. I've only ever really done that a couple of times, and only when we've gone as a big group so we can share the load. The problem is sometimes you can get a bit, after you've had a few drinks, you could fall on these things, break them. Same with the chairs. You don't want anything too precious and you don't want anything too expensive. There's a fine line between doing the job and too comfortable. So you wouldn't want to take an actual chair because it'd be too heavy to carry. But similarly, you wouldn't want to spend a lot of money on a table unless it was really hard wearing and you knew about it and you'd be able to go. You've just got to put the feelers out there. You could just as easily use like some crates stacked up as a little table for some card games maybe, or anything like that. You can make use, if you've got something in mind where you think I can use this as a table. So I'm taking a trolley and we'll use that as a sort of table, and it's hard, it's made of metal, it's multi-purpose. So that means that anything extra it can do past its primary job of being a trolley is perfect, ideal, and also it can also double up as a chair if need be. Not a comfortable chair, but a chair. And those things increase, your comfort in the campsite and puts a bit of they're niceties to have around the campsite. Another thing that people have, they have gazebos. They create a good bit of shelter from the sun, from the rain. I myself have always been cursed with gazebos. In my group, we've never managed to put up a gazebo and it lasts the weekend. It's probably a fault on our part. It's probably because we go for a cheap one as well. We've never managed to make a gazebo last at all, ever. So we're not going to take one this year. I'd always say, they sound like a really good idea, but there's a secret to them that I don't know myself. The wind will kill them, and it is usually windy. They're easy to put up, but they are very fragile, so something to be mindful of. But then again, they do have the benefit of keeping you out of the sun or the rain or both. And you can also, I've seen people cling film around them to stop sideways rain coming in, rain coming in from the side, because it can get that serious, the downpour. And that is, it's a real good bit of shelter. Now, just somewhere dry to be is really good. If someone in your group has got a place where they have like a little seating area, or they can pop up a canopy, I would almost lean towards, if you can, get a tent with an area where you can stand up in, over a gazebo. Spend that money on your tent to get a slightly nicer one. I think that would be better spent, and a bit more hard wearing and user friendly. Cooking at a download festival in the camp. It's one of those things where I find if it's your first year, you think, right, I'm going to take this, I'm going to cook my food, I'm going to do this, and it sounds like a good idea until you get there. It's hard, it's a lot of effort, and you don't want to spend your time, cleaning up pots and pans, for example. You don't want to spend your time cooking, you don't want to wait, things aren't as quick. So for example, you're not allowed to take gas anyway, so you can't take gas. I think you can only really take like little solid fuel hexi burners, and it takes a long time for those things they're small, they're compact, they're good, they're durable, but if you were to fill a kettle with some water and use that pot, it takes a good amount of time. It's not as quick as a kettle at home, which sounds obvious, but you might not necessarily think of it, and it's a good amount of time longer as well. Some people, I've took barbecues in the past, they've ended up just becoming like fire pits, to be honest. We've also, we've cooked like bacon on there on the first day, which was nice, and it was good to do, but I would never do it again. For starters, taking the meat is not great, because then you have to take a cool box. I'm an advocate of away from cooking at download myself. I'll take food that you can eat, even if it's just cold food out of a can is fine. You could take pot noodles and go to the vendors. They have vendors dotted about the campsite, and usually you give them £1, they'll fill your pot noodle up with water, and you've got a pot noodle there for £1, which is good. It's easy. All you need is a fork. You've got stuff you can throw away, recycle, and then you don't have to worry about it. It's not that hectic. It's not too deep. Whereas, for example, if you take a pan, you have to boil water. Let's say for super noodles, put noodles in a packet. It's a bit more hard work. But you can get. I know Tesco do them. B&M do them. They're like packets of cooked pasta, and they're microwavable. You store them not cold. You store them ambient temperature, so in the cupboard. And you can eat them without microwaving them, and they're really good, I find, and they're lighter than a can as well. They're a very good staple to have if you want something quick that you can just eat in your can. If you're really on a budget and you don't want to be spending £1 for pot of noodles here and there, but they're a good way about it. Stuff like cereal bars, they're light, compact, sort you through. Crisps, I've never been a fan of crisps because they break, they can crumble, you carry them. There's a lot of air, but they take a lot of space, and it's not really ideal. If you were going to take crisps, I'd say something like Pringles in a chew, where they're a bit harder, so they're not all smashed up by the time you get from walking to your camp, because that's quite a journey. You don't want to be doing that. You can take stuff like UHT milk in little cartons, take little cereals, a little bowl, rinse that out, and then you've got that. That's quite a good one. It doesn't take a lot of space, doesn't take a lot of effort, and also because it's UHT milk, you can keep it in your tent. Obviously, once you've opened it, that's where you get little cartons, almost like lunch size, so it's all portioned out for you, so that way you're not wasting big amounts, which I think is very handy. If you're taking a cool box or anything like that, then you can be a bit more adventurous. But what you have to constantly be in mind is everything that you'll take with you will need to be carried at some point. You will need to physically move it. I'm taking a trolley, so I've got it pretty easy, but even I'm thinking I'm not going to take a cool box. It's a lot of hassle and it's unnecessary. And most people on their first festival will take way too much. And it's not needed, and then there's nothing worse than getting to the end of the festival, you're tired, packing all away, and you've got stuff there that you've not even touched. It's demoralising, it's heartbreaking, but you obviously don't want to waste it either. You want to take some sort of hygiene, toiletry sort of things. I always take a first aid kit. I like to think I'm a sensible one in my little group, and I worry, and after a few drinks, I become the dad of the group, make sure everyone's okay. So in there I'll just have your basic stuff like some paracetamol, some ibuprofen. I have hay fever, so I'll take some antihistamines. We're getting on, so I'm going to take some you know, we're getting older now. So we're going to take some ibuprofen rub, you know, for bad backs, all that sort of stuff. If anyone gets a sprain, I like to take a whole bunch of plasters. A key thing is blister plasters. They're really helpful. A blister is really hard work. You don't want one of those. If you get one of those on your first day, it's going to put a downer on the whole festival, and there's not much you can do about it, but it's worth getting just a set of blister plasters just to help you through. Also going to take some Rennie, like Rennie, Gaviscon, heartburn sort of thing. I drink a lot of cider, it can give you heartburn. You know, if you're drinking a lot of stuff like that, it can, you know, you want to just recover as quick as you can, and that it helps me. I'll also take some Imodium, obvious reasons. You want to make sure that these things, you don't have to suffer through them. You can prepare for them slightly. They don't take much room. A pack of Gaviscon, a pack of Imodium sorts you out. You're all good, and it sorts you through. I also like the idea of taking some Pro Plus, just as a bit of a pick me up if you want some, you know, caffeine boost. It's more just like a peppy mood up, I guess. But I mean, I like to have them there just for good measure, more than anything. I mean, like I said, I panic, so I take a resuscitation mask. I take bandages. I'd probably go a little bit extra than I need to, only because I would rather take it and not need it in the first aid instance. So opposite to cooking, in my mind, I'd rather take a little bit extra first aid bits over, you know, a cool box. That's just who I am. If you're the other way, by all means, do what you want. But I'd rather take some more first aid things over those sorts of things. It's always good, obviously, you know, you want to take deodorant, you want to take roll-on is preferable at download because you're not really allowed cans. You can get cans in though. You want to take toothbrush, toothpaste, that sort of thing. Make sure, you know, anything that you would normally use in your day-to-day. Now a big thing as well is wet wipes. Give yourself the old legendary wet wipe wash. They're always good to have, you know, just a bit of a freshen up as well. I take a towel and some body and hair wash all in one sort of thing, just because I use the public showers there, because if I feel groggy, it really puts a downer on how I'm feeling. I feel like I'm slow to get going then, and I don't want to be wasting my time there. The showers there, they're always hot. I've never had to queue, you know. It's just a public shower. Just think like swim bath showers, really. It's not that bad, you know. I'm an adult. I'm not that bothered. It's fine. It's fine. They're clean. There's no queue. You're all good. Go in, take a towel, take some flip flops. You're all right, you know. Have a shower. Feel fresh as anything, you know. I would rather do that over a wet wipe wash, because even after a wet wipe wash, you still never feel great. But if you're going to avoid the showers, obviously you want some stuff. If you've got long hair, some dry shampoo will freshen you up, make you feel nice. But again, I'll just shower. Sounds like a simple thing. I've never had a problem with them and I enjoy it, so there we go. Now, clothes and footwear at download are obviously important. You don't want to go naked. And this is another area where I would say tread on the line of caution. It's a bit better to overpack here than underpack, but be mindful of what you have to carry. Wellies are a must, but as well as trainers, and I'm going to take some boots just for some hardware. And so if it's a little muddy, I've got boots. If it's dry, I've got trainers. If it's wet, wellies. I don't want to be wearing wellies, but if it's too wet for boots, I'll wear them. If it's too dry so that my boots are effort, I'll wear my trainers and I'll be all good. But you want to have those degree levels. You want to have not multiple pairs, but you want to have options as well. So if you just go for trainers and it gets absolutely soaking, that you're going to be in wet trainers all weekend, like my friend, and it's not going to be good. I mean, they sell a lot of these things there anyway, if you wanted, but if you want to be a bit more mindful of what you're taking, that's what you'll do. What I would advise as well is, so for example, I'm taking wellies and boots. I'm going to put in some fresh extra insoles, so they're a bit less taxing on my feet, just so it doesn't take its toll. It's a relatively inexpensive way to help give you a little bit of comfort without taking too much space. people at download tend to wear jeans all the time, black tops, hoodies. You want to be mindful of the heat. You might want to take some shorts, some light shorts, just in case the sun is blistering hot. You want to make sure you've got something a bit more breezier, a bit more comfortable. But equally, I myself am the butt of all the jokes in my group, because I will take waterproof trousers, because if it starts to rain, I am not into it. I don't want to be part of that. So waterproof trousers, jobs are good in. Waterproof trousers and wellies, I'm not getting wet. I'm happy. And then, not only that, when it stops raining, because it will at some point, or it won't, in which case I'll want the waterproof trousers. I just don't mess around with it. I think if it's going to rain, I'll be dry. Put them on quickly, carry them around. They fold up, they don't take a lot of space, and put them over my shorts, so it's all good. A hat is always good. Some shades are always good. Obviously, it should go without saying, you need to take your underwear. You need that. Socks. You want to take plenty of socks, just in case it does get muddy. You want to make sure you can keep your feet nice and dry. You want to take some sun cream and after sun. Ginger. I always take after sun and sun cream. But you want to know how it feels on your skin first. You don't want to just buy it and not have tried it out first, because you don't want to be uncomfortable with it, but you do want to protect yourself. Some other things you want to think about as well is security. So I've never taken a padlock for my tent, because in my mind, I've always thought if somebody wants to get into my tent, tents aren't made of brick. You can get into a tent if you really want to. The idea behind the padlock is it's quite clearly obvious if somebody's trying to get in your tent or through the tent. You can see that, security will see that, and they'll come over quite quickly and put a stop to things. But the caveat to that is I've never taken anything worth stealing, so there's no point, and anything that would go missing out of my tent, I'm not going to miss, I'm not going to need, so that's okay. No one's going to go into my tent and steal my sleeping bag. Why would they? It doesn't happen. They look for stuff like phones, money, that sort of thing. Buying a locker is worthwhile. So if you're, for example, driving, you want to get a locker, put your car key in there, put excess amounts of money in there, so you can go there daily, take out bits of money, so that, let's say the worst does happen. I've been going for a long time, and I've never personally known anybody to be affected by thief, but it does happen. I'm not naive and saying it doesn't happen. It does happen. I'm just lucky enough to never have had it happen to me or my immediate friends. Just friends of friends we've heard about, the stories are there. But you just want to be mindful. You also don't want to just be leaving things out and about. You want to just keep it nice and tidy so you can see. So if something is getting rummaged through, you'd know about it. So if you leave your tent in a mess, go away, come back, and it's all a mess, you wouldn't know if someone's been rummaging, rifling through your bits. But if you left it neat and tidy, go away, come back, and then it's a mess, someone has been looking around. And then you talk to your neighbours, and they will usually keep an eye out, and you get a feel for who's around you, and you're aware of them, and then you tend to just look out for each other. To be honest, that just instinctively seems to happen. Some other things you want to take that you might not necessarily think about is a light. So I would take a light that I can hang in my tent so I can see at night. It's dark at night, obviously. Some things that I've seen people take are headlamps. I never take a headlamp, I've always been fine. I always take like a torch that hangs up, but also it's small, it's compact, and I can keep it on me in my pocket, and I can use it as a torch if need be. And it always does the job. Taking a wind-up one can help, but I've just always taken this one. It's it's cheap, it's durable, hangs up, it's got a little hook attachment, and it can also click again and turn into a actual torch, and that always does a trick for me. I've known people take fairy lights, that are battery powered, all that sort of stuff, and it looks really nice. And that's where you will draw the line between necessity and what's neat and what you need. You don't need that much, but the more you have might be nice for you. If you're taking a gazebo, some fairy lights around it would look lovely. Another thing you want to take is a battery pack, potentially for your phone. If you're going to be using your phone, odds are you're going to want to take pictures, you want to record things, you want to, play music in a campsite, so a speaker as well. In our campsite, we usually have a speaker, we usually have, between us as a group, someone will take a speaker, we'll take a big battery pack, like a big lithium thing. It's a monster. I think it's actually called it's a generator type thing, but it's, you charge it before, and that thing will last us, most of us, all throughout the festival. If you also have a locker, you can charge up there, so you also want to make sure you've got USB cables. I always take an iPhone USB-C, just in case. I use iPhone, but in case somebody doesn't have one, it's always nice to just lend them out, a relatively inexpensive cable, it's just nice. It's helpful. Like I say, I like to be a bit prepared in that sense. The key though is you're just going to want to make sure that you're mindful and thinking of scenarios beforehand, and you've got a rough plan on what you'll need, what you want to take, and if you're sacrificing anything, you know why, and it's by choice. There's nothing worse than getting there and realising you need something and you're not ready for it. But then at the same time, yeah, that's bad, but then on the other side you've got the likes of like Fat Frank's, where you can order things before you go and pick it up and collect it on the day, everything down to your tent, and they'll sort you out, and they're not that badly priced. I mean, obviously there's a little bit of a premium, but it's not much. It's really not that much. Obviously you've got the likes of the Co-op there for food, so in theory you could pre-order some bits through Fat Frank's, so you can just use their click and collect thing, which is free, and then any booze, food and all that, you can just go straight to Co-op, buy yourself, because then the prices there, I think, are not much more expensive than a normal Co-op, and between the two of them you could just rock up and you're more or less set. And then if you have that in your mind as your absolute worst case scenario, and then just build up from there and take things prior so that it's a bit more accustomed to what you want, you can get a bit more familiar with things, you'll be in a good place, you'll be golden, you'll be okay. The key though is to have fun, not to panic and put yourself into it in some sort of anxious state. The whole thing is so enjoyable, and if you ever get stuck, just ask for help. If you see me, I'll help. I take extra bits to help other people, so nobody will see this, but if you do, come and say hello and I can help you. But there's lots of other people in the same position as me that will help. Usually when you go with a group, there's usually someone who's done a few, they know what they're doing. I like to call them the veterans. They help out, they'll do their load. Like, I'll take my trolley, it'll probably be half full, but if I see some friends, or if I see someone struggling, some first timers or whatever, I'll say, just chuck your stuff in here, we'll pull it together. You make friends. It's a very sociable, very, very sociable place. It's all good. It's been a long one. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you like this, if you've got any value. I will be doing a couple of extra videos on Download. I will be doing a couple of extra videos on Download Festival and going from there, just to help get people ready in the build up to it. It's only 2 weeks away now, just less, I think. I hope you found some tips here helpful. I hope it's at least started you. It's not an exclusive guide, you will have to use your mind a little bit and get to it, but you will get there. If you have any questions, put them down below. If you have anything else that you think you want to run past, put it down below. Use the forum. There's a lot of things out there that can help. I'm not quite done. In my next video, I'll be going through the lineup, the music and what's going on there, giving you my thoughts, what I want to do, where I want to be, what I fancy doing, and things that I want to be checking out. And that video will just be around here. Click there, and then we'll carry this on. Cheers. Thanks. Bye.